All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Valparaiso's stream of League of Legends, our esports team. We're going into Series 2 today. Franklin College versus Valparaiso. This is a best of three game. And starting off with Franklin's draft, we have a Talia ban, which honestly is kind of expected. We do have MF Chikimbo on our team, and his Talia is nasty, but Valparaiso coming out with the Kindred ban. You're gonna have to wonder, are they gonna target ban their jungler this game? Franklin's jungler, because I know that he is a bit of a problem. He or she, or they, um, they're a bit of a problem. So we'll have to see, but it looks like we have the Nautilus ban as well in the support. Valparaiso in the last series faced the Nautilus both games. They did win, but I guess that they just don't want to see that happen going into Franklin College. Franklin going with the Fiora ban as well, and the Fiora is kind of nice, targeting Anaya. Anaya's Fiora is kind of nasty for 1v1ing, and there goes Steamroller's Bard as well. Uh, Not really any bands that are like setting up a team comp almost. More so, it looks like they're just banning based off player, which is completely fine. First game, you're trying to figure out how your team plays, trying to figure out who people can flex to. And Valpo coming out with the Silas ban. Franklin must have someone that plays a lot of Silas because I know that uh, on Valpo, Silas is also a pretty strong pick, but I guess not this game. Franklin with the first pick, Vel'Koz. We'll have to see if that's a Vel'Koz mid or if that's a Vel'Koz support. Um, Honestly, with the Bard ban, I feel like it may have been a Vel'Koz support, just as Bard sometimes gives a little bit more utility in the bot lane, especially facing an Aphelios or facing a Vel'Koz. And Valparaiso is going to first pick the Aphelios. Um, I've seen I've seen a little bit of Aphelios gameplay coming from Valpo, but the Taric pick is one that I do know Steamroller is very confident in. This is one of his first games actually getting Taric in this like competitive match. But if you check his OP, you see that he has a couple of games on it. He loves that Taric. Franklin go with the Mordekaiser pick and the Kane pick as well in the jungle. Um, Trying to get that out the way so that jungler can't get like target banned going into the rest of this. But no, I think the Mordekaiser going top lane might be a little bit of a counter pick as well because looking at Anaya, our top laners this game, Mordekaiser does have a pretty high win rate into her characters, especially considering that Anaya likes to play Mordekaiser. And going with the comfort pick for her, Dr. Mundo. That kind of just like a 1v1 battle, that chase down that Mundo has is a nice little like key off of Mordekaiser. So the matchup seems somewhat even. I feel like it's just going to be a difference between summoner spells and what they can take. Um, and we're looking here. Here are the extra bans for Valpo. Obviously, Franklin. I guess they're assuming that that's a Vel'Koz mid. So Valpo going with the Lulu ban, and Franklin coming back with an Ari ban, trying to shut down the options that Valpo has. But quite frankly, I mean, MF Jakimbo's Ari has not been played in a little bit. He just hasn't been feeling comfortable on it, so he still has a lot of open options here. Valpo looking for the last ban as well. And they're gonna ban the Alistar, focusing on that support. So that obviously is a Vel'Koz mid then, they're assuming. So focusing, trying to shut down, that's three supports in their ban. Just trying to give that bot lane as much of an advantage as they can. And honestly, with the Lulu, the Alistar ban, if you're looking at Franklin here, you need a little bit of range because they're engaged. Tarek is going to win that engage. He has enough sustain and armor, especially that he can give to Aphelios. That close range, they're going to have to look for a little bit more of a poking comp. It looks like Franklin's going to go with a Shyvana ban as their last ban also. Um, we have a Jarvan 4 pick coming from Zaxter. Yeah. We have Zaxter playing the Jarvan 4 again. As we saw last series, he's very comfortable on it. But Franklin going with a quick two pick of Set and Jinx. Um, so it looks like this may be either what I'm thinking right here from seeing Franklin is it may be a Set top Mordekaiser mid Vel'Koz support, but you could also honestly, you've seen the set support as well with the E, the stun. It's been useful, especially working around waves and giving Jinx that kind of range that she can just shoot her like Q lock on is somewhat nice. But MF Jackimbo getting the last pick, getting that counter pick, and honestly, with how convoluted Franklin's kind of like picks are, right? It makes sense that he would go with a Syndra. I know that his OP shows it as well. He's been playing a little bit of Syndra going into this, and with just the overall tanky build that Franklin has right now, it's a lot easier to hit that stun, to hit that Q into the W hit. So we'll have to see, especially with as we're going to the picks here, just like reiterating, um, Syndra. I don't know if you guys are up to date about it, but later in the PBE right now, the test server that League has, right? They're testing out a new change to Syndra where they're adding a passive to her, and that passive makes her scaling really, really good
You
because as she gets
overstepped.
more passive like stacks, her abilities get better. And like for example, when she reaches 100 stacks later in the game, her ultimate then has
Cool
an execute.
poem.
So like under 20% health, it will insta kill someone. So Syndra is getting a little bit of a buff. So I think Emma Chikimbo is kind of planning right now to work this into his comp, work this into his strategy, so that when Syndra does hit the meta, he can hit the ground running with it. Obviously, PBE subject to change, never
You
actually
can't
like
cage me for
set in
long.
stone. But until then, I think he's just been feeling confident about it. Talking to him about the Syndra pick a couple of games ago. He just his positioning in lane he feels like is one of the better decisions when picking Syndra. Especially it looks like he's going to be going against some type of melee mid laner, unless it's Vel'Koz. He's able to angle himself a little bit better, especially going into melee. That we'll have to see. And it looks like it is a set mid lane. So both my predictions were off. I mean, set mid lane is not the craziest thing in the world. We've seen this before, but that kind of just that damage from his W. But I think this works out into MF Jacimbo's favor, as Set's gonna have to step up for that wave. A good placed Q, a good placed little
I
orb that
smell
Syndra can place
cooking.
down is a free stun and electrocute proc that he has. So we'll have to see what's going on. Um, as always, right, talking about runes, talking about summoner spells, there's a lot that people can mix up here. So I'm
Playtime
interested
over.
to see, is MF Jakuma going to take that normal electrocute that you run on
Now
Syndra, or
I
is he
am
going to go
free.
with a comet? Is he going to go comet? Is he going to go unsealed spellbook?
I
Right?
smell fear.
There's a ton of options that he has now opened up because he's going into a melee mid laner that he is favored against. So, and also the Aphelios bot lane from Ordinal. I don't think we've seen an Aphelios played by him all year so far. So this is going to be a little bit of a new pick for him, at least competitive wise. I do know that he has played Aphelios before. So seeing that in the Taric, especially with Aphelios' red gun, is spawning out with it gives a lot of engage to that comp early game. So I think that with the Vel'Koz support and with the Jinx and bot lane, the idea for Franklin is that they just need to stay away. Um, Taric has a little bit of a hard time getting in close, especially with people that can kite him. But if they ever try to engage, especially off of a Kane gank or anything like that, I think the fight honestly is favored in Aphelios and Taric because they have close range healing, and Aphelios's red gun, right, the short range lifesteal, that's its passive, is it's meant to sustain him. So really ganking these early lanes is going to be a little bit tough for Franklin. Obviously we have the Mordekaiser Mundo matchup, and I feel like the pathing that these junglers will take will set these guys on a little bit of an island. We've seen obviously Anaya does well when sitting on an island, not much jungle help needed for her to sustain. But really, just regarding these paths, I think it's going to come down to who can bully lane faster. This is not a really, I'm not really seeing much team comp orientation outside of the Jarvan 4 and maybe the Taric ult from Valpo Esports. And from the left side, looks like a ton of kills. So it's really just going to be who wins laning phase. So I think that we're going to find a decider pretty early in this match. And now while we're on spectator delay, we're going to go to a quick break. and we'll catch you guys in about 2 minutes. And welcome back, everyone. We're about 5 seconds away from game time. Um, and right here, as we load in, we're going to be able to get a look at the summoner spells that they have, the runes that we're running, kind of the idea. Because I feel like with the team draft, there's not much of a giveaway of what they're trying to do outside of just jumping with the Jarvan, trying to getting close with the bot lane. And outside of just like overall engage, I feel like the runes are really going to tell away what the plans are for a lot of these characters. I'm interested to see, are we taking the Unsealed Spellbook in mid lane? Are we taking the Comet? Are we taking an Electrocute? Um, and there's the First Strike Syndra. Okay. Actually, we've seen this before coming from Jikimbo. He usually loves to take that first strike just to get that scaling, and especially against Set, someone that doesn't have much range. I feel like it is a good way to proc it. Excuse me. Um, Syndra is a very, very poke heavy champ when it comes to landing Qs and things like that. So going into a melee matchup in mid lane, that's going to farm him a ton of gold. Um, Otherwise, I mean, we're seeing normal stuff. Mundo with the grasp, Jarvan with fleet footwork, or not. Sorry, Jarvan with phase rush, Ordinal with fleet footwork. But these kind of things are
Welcome
kind
to
of what we
Summoner's
expected.
Rift.
I see that Steamroller is running the inspiration runes as well. Which I mean, it is a build for Tarek.
30
He is very
seconds until
comfortable on
minions
Tarek,
spawn.
so I'd assume that he knows like what his plan is, especially going into this pretty poke heavy bot lane that they have. It's gonna be interesting, honestly, to see how things play out. Looks like there's not really much of an invade, no real deep wards going on here. Just trying to look around. Jarvan mid, little setup here, but really, all the
Minions have
summoners are what you
spawned.
expect. That Taric Ignite is usually what you want to take because that engage that he has off his stun at level 1 especially. Being able to ignite, especially with the Aphelios
What?
range on his Q that he starts off, or the Q, or
You
his
know what
green
they
gun that he
say
starts
about
off
big
with, and the
dreams,
Q from that green gun,
right?
really does help for chipping out, but we'll have to see. There's also the ignite on the Vel'Koz as well, so I'm assuming that if they can chip someone down, they're gonna attempt to get close enough to help out. And I think one thing that we do want to pay attention to this game is how Ordinal manages Aphelios guns. You'll see, even in farming, you have to understand Aphelios is someone that you have to be mentally present for. A little bit of chip there going on, but you saw the first strike proc from MF Kimbo already starting to farm that gold. You'll see that, as I was talking about, the gun management coming from Aphelios is one of the biggest learning curves that you have to have with that character. If you learn how to manage his ammo, know which guns come up with which, know how to stagger different weapons, it opens up so much play for actual like counterattacks. And you'll see too, we're looking in that mid lane as well, that kind of just engage that Set has. He has to run up and Syndra just has to get a good angle on him. A little bit of poke coming in, level 2 hitting Mordekaiser first, allowing him to engage and win that trade a little bit. Stun on Taric, especially with the Zaxter coming down, and it looks like it's going to be an early first blood. You see that red gun and the ignite popping off on that Vel'Koz, and just a little bit too early of a push up for Franklin. They got a little bit too comfortable there in that bot side, especially with their poke. I mean, it comes with the draft. You have to understand what your characters are drafted for, right? You're never going to win those close-up matches, but the reason that you got to push them back was because you have more range. So sacrificing that range, trying to get a little bit more poke damage is just not worth it in the end. Along with that, great rotation from Zaxter coming down on the Jarvan 4. Obviously, Jarvan, one of the stronger gankers in this game with the longest like dash, or one of the longest dashes in the game, and a knockup and par with that. Really just makes him a threat, especially in that bot lane, being able to cover ground so quickly against these guys who really don't have any movement to get away. I mean, outside of maybe Jinx's passive after a kill, it's really situational though. Looks like we have a little bit of an engage here. The Mordekaiser goes back in, but it won't amount to much. Zaxter's probably going to look to farm a little bit more. Another first strike proc coming from MF Kimbo. You can see taking wave priority pretty fast here, which is somewhat expected. We have a level advantage now from Anaya. The hit on the Q just to chip him off a little bit, forcing him off the wave, trying to get that experience away from him, trying to maintain that lead. You see now that Aphelios does have purple gun. Now, Aphelios' 5 guns are obviously his unique trait, right? So a lot of the time, and a big stun from Taric, and then the root coming in as well from Aphelios. The flash from Vel'Koz the wrong way, the heal, but it looks like it may just end in a kill. The flamethrower gun coming out, but Kayn slowing, maybe getting Vel'Koz out of this, the stun on the Kayn, and they may turn this a little bit. Carrot still healing, and the kill, and it looks like there's going to be a kill on the Kayn, but there's a double kill going to the Jinx. You saw the Jinx passive popping off. A great turn from that Kayn, as it looks like Valpo's bot lane just got caught out a little bit. You saw that they used the root a little bit earlier than expected on that fight, so they weren't able to root it before that Vel'Koz flashes towards Kayn. So really just a little bit of miscommunication there. But the big thing, as I was talking about earlier, balancing those guns. And it looks like Zaxter may be looking for a quick kill here. The root really quick, but he may just be able to dash in on this Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz, not really much movement to go around here. And that's going to be a kill. He might just back away here. So now, evening out the scoreboard a little bit. We have a 8.2 gold to 8.7 gold. Still quite an even game, but you see that these junglers are starting to get active now. That's Zaxter Jarvan 4. Something he's very comfortable on. He knows his fights, he knows where to take them. And the control over the map is just something that it's fun to watch. Get a quick back here coming from Zaxter. But talking about Aphelios a little bit more. I mean, there's a million things I could talk about Aphelios on. Personally, I love his character, right? So I could talk for hours on this, but I'll cut it short for the viewer's sake. The way that you manage your guns, there's a lot of gun combos that you want. His best gun being the chakrams that he has now, the silver gun, right? That silver gun does probably the most damage in ADC can do in a close range battle in this game. It's insane, especially when he stacks to about 2 items, right? Because what happens is the passive on that is the closer that the character is, and it looks like we have a gank here, a missed stun from Taric, but the flash to get him out of the Vel'Koz. It looks like a little bit of a missed knockup, but Zaxter is also pathing bot lane, looking to see if he can turn this a little bit. Jakimbo, a couple of chips here, but the set ult, or set W landing on him, just to get a little bit of true damage off. You can see that the closer that Aphelios is to someone, the more attack speed that those chakrams have. And there's a stun from a little bit of chip coming in from Jakimbo, but he has to watch his mana here. It's a little bit low, and I think Set knows that. He's going to take a back now. But having those chakrams, especially with the sentry turret that it also gives them so much damage, especially when they engage close, that he really just becomes melty. So you see just like balancing his guns, knowing which guns pair well with which. For example, his purple gun, his active, allows him to root people, right? So if you pair that purple gun with the chakrams, it allows for a deadly combo. So that's kind of the like skill gap that Aphelios players have to deal with here. It looks like Zaxter is hovering a little bit of bot side, trying to get them to peek up a little bit, but it looks like the Franklin College bot side knows that they're there. It's going to back up a little bit. Syndra is pinging out. That they're pinging out the Syndra, pinging out the Jarvan. A little bit of an engage here, but not much. Really what makes Taric dangerous here is that playing in these lanes, he has enough sustain. He can sit here clearing those wards if he wants. He'll heal right through Vel'Koz's early game. He's really not worried about getting chunked here. And of course, Mundo does have a little bit, he is a little bit lacking in the wave clear, so getting a little pushed under, but as bot lane takes priority, pushing into that tri-bush, Zaxter comes up and takes that dragon with them, giving a cloud dragon to Valpo early game. Again, as we mentioned in Series 1, Cloud Dragon is not the best dragon out of all of them. Not exactly one you'd be worried about contesting. The movement speed buff that it gives in and out of combat is not exactly what you're looking for sometimes. But I mean, we'll see. And then Set, building that tank, building that Bomby Cinder, just trying to survive that chip, obviously. Syndra with the ability tome doesn't really have much damage at the moment with the stuns and everything, but Set is still hanging in there, just taking that time. We have a little bit of an engage here on top. Level increase on, or level advantage on the Mordekaiser, but they're both going to get in there into the side of Kayn. It looks like MF Jakimbo is also there. Kayn going to jump out of the Zaxter, and Zaxter's going to flash and get away, but Set flashes for the R and the kill on them as well. They're going to have a little bit of a chip here. Set ghosts, and now he's running for MF Jakimbo, looking for probably a pull-in and a stun. There it is. And MF Jakimbo with a huge stun. The W coming from Set, making Mundo flash. Overall, good engage from Franklin. A good way of understanding their kind of strengths that they have this early game, that kind of group damage that they have. Playing into that against especially like the Mundo and the Jarvan, both individual target damagers. Really, you can just see like getting them grouped together was the best case for them because they could all damage at once. I mean, you had the Set ult into the, or you had the Set flash into the ult to secure that kill on Jarvan before he could dash away. You had the Mordekaiser Q slam down as well. You had the Mordekaiser ult go off. Really, just overall engage from Franklin. You're just gonna have to see here how they play this bot lane. Because really what I'm seeing here is that Franklin can scale really, really hard here, but it's gonna be a difference of who wins this lane. Looking at summoners here, not really much to talk about, really. A couple of flashes down from that last fight, so not gonna look for much of an engage here, but I mean, it can always get interesting. Looks like we have a little bit of pressure going in this bot lane. A little bit of a knock-up. And you see that he has that Q gun, so he's going to keep throwing out those roots if he can. The idea with the purple gun that Aphelios has is that any auto that he gets applies that passive Q. They have a flash away to stop the Taric stun, but then a flash back from the Taric to get away from it. Looks like we have a gank coming in this mid lane. The Set ults ults Zaxter away, but Zaxter hits the Zanyas and dodges the Set. Overall, great gank right there. The team play is great right now. You can see really Jarvan playing that support role again, trying to get in, get those Rs, especially rushing that Zanya's as well. Rushing that stopwatch is insanely helpful for him, especially in those fights. Like you saw right there, that may have been a kill on that Zagster if he had not stopwatched, and that led to a 1-0 kill. So, have a little bit of an engage in the deep ward here by the Kayn. Kayn still pressuring in red side jungle. Maybe looking for an E over the wall here to stop on this Aphelios. And there it is. And there's the hit, the flash from the Aphelios, and the healing, and the ult coming from Taric, stopping most of that Vel'Koz ult, but the last half of it still hits. The ignite on the Ordinal while the exhaust goes off on Vel'Koz hits too. But it looks like there might be more of a collapse. Josh coming in here too. Top lane, a fight going on as well for a couple of autos here. The ult and Mordekaiser turns that fight a little bit while bot lane kind of staggers out with a kill on the Taric and not really much else. You can see just this pressure that this Kayn is applying by that wall jumping, those E's that he has to throw out. They're kind of nasty. And now that he has the Chakram Q, that green Q is a lot stronger. Because if you didn't know, Aphelios, when he hits his Q on his green gun, allows him to attack with the second weapon that he has at any range, as long as he can right-click on that person, as long as he has vision. So that vision that he has, it's enough so that he can hit that Q, hit that long range, and that Chakram is his highest damaging ability. Sorry. We have a Rift Herald mid drop. Quick stun on the set, trying to get him to stop this Rift Herald from catching. A lot of plates going in. It looks like an engage from Zax there. He's going to be forced to back up after that set W. He's taking a little bit of chip, but they're going to get this tower here. And we're going to have to see. It looks like Red Kayn, after the evolution, Red Kayn is strong right now. It did just recently get nerfed in patch, but you're about to see it in action. It's lifesteal. It looks like we have an ult from the set immediately into a W, but the Jarvan counters it with the R, along with the Taric inside the R as well. And that's going to take Set out. Just a little bit of a tough fight there, trying to knock him back into, but with the pressure that they applied on Kayn earlier in that fight, he really just couldn't help out. And looking at our gold lead right now, it seems that Valpo Esports has a about 3k gold lead going into this. Obviously, majority of it being on that Jarvan 4. Another engage, a stun from Taric here, getting into melee range, and this may be a kill. Emma Chikimbo getting that kill on the Vel'Koz. Another teamfight objective kill. I mean, you can really just see there's a difference between his positioning in his lane and the positioning in his team fights that he has. And just kind of being able to hover around people and play that angle is really nice. But it looks like Kayn is pinging for a gank in mid lane, trying to get that Syndra right after 200 gold shutdown. But Syndra plays it a little bit safe, might have had vision. Is going to start recalling under tower. Little Jinx ult coming out just to chip away, but not really doing much there. And it looks like this bot tower will go down. A lot of gold going there. Excuse me, I'm sorry. As you see, right, that's Mundo into the Mordekaiser pick. Mordekaiser is a lot more damaging of a champ, right? Obviously, Mundo is more of a tank that you see. Outside of Mordekaiser's W, it's a little bit hard to tank, but if you notice, Mundo's taking is kind of nice. I mean, he has a lot of base magic resist. He built the Merc Treads as well. But that Mundo passive that he can re-pick up is insane. I have a little bit of an engage here going on Krugs. It looks like it's going to be a 3v3. The stun coming in from Jakimbo, the toss in. A lot of damage there. The ult from Zaxter. He flashes out of his ult, but Anya flashes back in and gets the kill. A couple of melees. Taric is now in the fight as well. Huge set W, but MF Jakimbo damages through that. And Zaxter is going to pick up the kill on the set as well. Overall, just great collapse on the 5 people. It was a 5v3 at the end of the day that turned into, and I feel like Valpo knew what was happening after the recall from their bot lane and the MF Jakimbo TP coming down, going to catch that bot lane, making sure that Vel'Koz can't really farm as effectively. Vel'Koz throwing a couple of abilities there, just getting a little bit used to it. And we're going to see, I mean, Mundo is just hacking away, doing his thing now. That tank that he has, Uh, it's gonna really help out, especially for split pushing with the TP and everything. The flash on the Vel'Koz and the hit, and then the ult gets the shutdown on the Syndra as well. Just a little bit of positioning. The stun, big stun from Taric. The aura coming in as well on this engage. And Ordinal being able to walk in. Another stun coming in that was huge. The damage, the ult for Steamroller under tower, taking a couple of tower shots. Another stun, huge stun by Taric. The Kane ult will hop into the Ordinal though and get the kill for, and will secure that kill, a double kill for set. Overall, just a really sustained fight, but I feel like just the positioning of Aphelios and Taric in that fight really just didn't help them. It looks like we're just gonna have a little bit of a reset. Mordekaiser may meet Jarvan here a little bit in the jungle, trying to start Rift Herald up a little bit. The issue is that down both your bot laners, if Franklin decides to crash on this, yep, there he goes. You really just can't catch up. You can't win that fight. If they decide to crash in it, obviously Jinx is still bot lane, so there's still not much of an issue there. But, I mean, just running this, you can see that Vel'Koz is starting to chip. It looks like a jump and a flash here coming in. And it's going to be a little bit of a fight going on. MF Jakimbo securing a kill. But the R, and see, Taric also getting a kill as well. The R from Jarvan shutting down Mordekaiser from movement. And there's another double kill coming from Syndra. Just these team fights just feed and feed and feed him. It's going to get to the point that it's going to be unplayable. Especially when that Syndra ult starts to go on a lower cooldown, it's going to be really, really hard for the other team to really, like, focus up. Try and, like, target him out.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
There goes turret top tower. Excuse me. But, no, it seems like we have, like, a lane swap here. Vel'Koz throwing out a couple of abilities, getting the Aphelios flash. It's kind of big with 40 seconds on the Hextech Drake right now. They're going to look for just setting up for Drake, really, getting that vision control, clearing out a couple of wards. At the same time, I mean, Valpo is in there too. Valpo getting a reset for the Syndra, buying that Shadow Flame, and getting that stopwatch as well. You also see Syndra going with the Dark Seal this game as well, trying to get those stacks, trying to become that hyper carry that she needs to be. Taric taking a couple of shots really doesn't matter. His Q is just going to heal him anyways. But you can just see, even those shots, even if Taric heals it, it's really showing off this Vel'Koz is becoming a problem with the items. Even if his KP doesn't show it, that chip damage he has is nice. They'll dash through on the Zaxter trying to get that blast cone so they can't blast over, but having to walk around, just missed it a little bit. And we're gonna see really if Franklin wants to contest this. There's the Vel'Koz ult. It's gonna be up to the flat. It's gonna be up to the Smite, and Smite comes out, securing that dragon for Red Team, for Valpo Esports. Even that Vel'Koz ult really couldn't stop it, but Jakimbo flashing on, getting the kill. Ignite coming out as well, and this Jinx flashes to get the shutdown on Jakimbo. Might have been a 1-for-1 trade. With the shutdown that Syndra had on her, I don't think that was also worth, but gonna have a little bit of a meaning here in this jungle. Zaxter just dashing out back to Mundo, trying to pressure off a little bit. He really doesn't win that fight. He needs to back up, but he just kind of jumped him in bush. Not much you can do there. Showed off a little bit of vision there. Looks like blue team Franklin is going to try and push this mid wave with Rift Herald, trying to get this tower done. We'll see if they can stop. It looks like they'll just back off. Yep, the wave clear that Ordinal possesses, especially with the stun from Taric, is not enough to, or is more than enough to stop that Rift Herald from getting any extra shots in as well, forcing Franklin just to back off a little bit. And now going into this lane, you see, with the towers that are open for Valpo Esports, the game is a little bit more opened up for them. They don't have to worry as much about walking up with waves, be able to split push. These kind of things open up their team fighting potential so much more than it was early game. And you saw that early game, They were just getting caught out a little bit, so now that they have gotten those towers, now that they have that flexibility to play around their champions, we might see a little bit of a turn. Uh, Plus, along with that, a 3k gold lead, and a majority of it being in the jungle and mid again. Like Series 1, Game 1. I mean, we saw this before. Jarvan 4 is very active, especially around that mid lane. So we'll see if this can turn around for the better here. Have a little bit of a gank here coming in from Set. Set popping the Ghost, running after Anaya. Anaya flashing and using the speed that she has from Mundo ult to get away here. She is fast. Mundo was moving there. Usain bolting it out of that fight. That was actually huge. The speed that she got from that was able to outrun the ghosted Set. Wasting that summoner for next fight, which is especially important. And now running into this fight that we have here, just a little bit of engage. Obviously, with that bot lane gone, that gives Zaxter a lot more opportunity to take camps in bot lane, right? It makes it a lot harder for Kayn to farm up, so he has to choose his farm carefully. Knowing that Anaya had just gotten pushed out of the top lane, he obviously would path there a little bit quicker, but really we're getting a little bit of a reset here. Another mid tower going down. And Valpo just kind of taking control of this map. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Just resetting, getting that gold lead, getting that tower lead is so important for this team comp that they're running here. They need that flexibility to be able to engage on their own terms. Because if they don't engage on their own terms, I mean, they're going to get poked out. That's the hardest thing about facing a poke comp, is that if you're not willing to get close, if you're not willing to take fights that you want, and choose the fight that you want, they're going to chip you until eventually it gets to the point that you can't take that fight anymore. So being able to fight on your own terms with this team comp that they're running, with the Taric, the Jarvan 4, the Aphelios, it's really important in that those tower takes that they have is really in testament to them. A little bit of a contest here from Mordekaiser, stopping this Cinder from pushing this wave by yourself, but you see, it's almost on level. Really close to rank up here. MF Shikimbo is to 14. He's just a little bit of chip here. But you see, I mean, they have that vision control in jungle. They're able to sit there. They're able to play around this. It's making them a lot more comfortable. I would say they played this game a little bit comfortable. It looks like we had a Set hiding in the bush waiting for a stun. And Zaxter's just going to get a little bit of attacking, but you see that phase rush on his rune proccing, getting him out of that really quickly. It looks like he's going to reset a little bit for the blue buff, but I mean, Set is back in it again, running in the stun on the Taric just to get him away, but the pull in, the CC, the flash, but it might not be enough to get him under tower, and there's the kill going to Mordekaiser. The ult from the MF Chikimbo, and another kill going on the Kayn, and now it's just this Set running after. I mean, you saw they did triple dive Taric under tower, but it costed their Kayn and it costed their Vel'Koz. So now, I mean, we have a 4v3 going on here, without both supports and without a jungler going into this dragon fight. So if Valpo can just chip out a little bit here, they may be able to win this. Remember, Zaxter is low, so it's going to be hard for him to jump in here. A knock-up, great flash, and Ordinal securing that kill, and that may just give him drag here. I don't think that Jinx will try to contest it, maybe with an ult, but her ult is already down, yep, just with a couple of shoots. A couple of shots going in, but no, honestly, it feels like this is kind of the way that a lot of games go, especially in these team fights, is it's that a lot of teams do engage really strong. I mean, we saw this happening to Valpo as well earlier. Oh, and a flat, but the Zanya is stopping the Vel'Koz ult and the flash over the wall, but Taric is here now. And Taric is not afraid of Vel'Koz, running him down, trying to get the stun. We have an engage in the top lane as well. It looks like Taric will back off a little bit. Same with the top lane. Opting for a reset here for Zaxter. Probably going to get his gold up. 6-2 and 10 is not easy. Oh, never mind. He goes for the knockup with Anaya as well. Kayn jumping over the wall, but also leaving, just opting to not fight this 3v1. TP coming in as well from the Mordekaiser, going to run him down. And as you can see in these types of team fights, what happens is it's that there will be someone that gets caught out. right? And that's normal. And we have another engage. I'm sorry, I keep getting interrupted here. We have another engage in the jungle, and there's another catch out from that Vel'Koz. Evan Chikimbo getting another kill, going 8-2 and 7. He's having a hell of a day right now. But I mean, just getting caught out like that, you get one kill and you feel like you just start running it in. The issue is that the communication needs to be there if you're going to get those picks. I mean, when you communicate, hey, we got this pick, let's go after this person, right? All five of you have to be there. You see what happened like last fight to Franklin, where three of them went in, two of them got picked. And we have a huge fight over Baron right here. The ult coming out from Zaxter and from Tarek. The stun as well. Red team, Valpo Esports taking Nasher and kind of just stomping this fight. And there's another 4 kills going to Valpo Esports. The team fighting is just too strong at this moment for Franklin to really contest, especially after that early reset that they just had. But no. And there's the Zaxter ult again in the MF Chikimbo pick again. And it looks like they're going to just try and push this out as much as they can. No objectives up at the moment. Quite frankly, with only Kane up and the rest of their team coming back, they're looking for a pretty big wave here. They may back up though, as they are right now, because they don't exactly have the health right now to fight the 3v2. But they also should be looking for a reset as well. The gold lead that they have right now is pretty substantial. I mean, I guess playing into this comp, you have to think for Franklin wise, right? They were doing great in those early fights by being able to choose a target, but when it comes to these 5v5s, I mean, Valpo, we've seen it before. Valpo's having really, really good communication when it comes to being a team-oriented fighter, right? They will choose one person, and they can go for another person, and they can stick together on these types of fights, and that's really causing a difference. Looks like Mordecai is going to get chunked here by the Aphelios, but there's a huge ult from the Vel'Koz and the set doing a ton of damage, being able to kill that Tarek. But here comes Syndra in the fight now. Throwing over wall, nice little kill. And now it's just a 4v3 pushing into this lane with Baron, with Hextech Soul. And there's the R coming from Zaxter and the kill on the Vel'Koz. And this may be game, ladies and gentlemen. The knockup from Zaxter, just getting a little bit of damage, waiting for his team to come back in. His team is now here. A little bit of targeting, Emma Chikimbo taking a little bit of shots, but honestly, this game may be over. They're taking the inhibitors as well. They're looking to get a couple of kills going, and quite frankly, oh, it looks like we have a little bit of a turn here. The set R coming in, killing that Aphelios, targeting it out, but Zaxter is going to secure the kill on the set as well. And Chikimbo staying alive against that Mordekaiser, and it looks like it's going to end the fight. In this first match, the game over. a little bit of kill potential coming in here, but game one is going to go to Valpo Esports. Overall, kind of somewhat close games starting off, but I mean those 5v5s, the 3v3s are going out well for Franklin, but those 5v5s it just became a little bit discombobulated. A couple of teams gained shot out, and it looks like we have another interview coming in from Zaxter again, the Jarvan 4 from this game. Just to speak really briefly a little bit on that game. So obviously great game, right?
Thank you,
We
thank you.
saw like those early ganks went well. Another early lead for you, right? Going like 4-1 and 1 into the 10-minute mark. I mean, as usual, going into this team comp that you were playing against, what kind of was your idea with targeting?
Honestly, we were labbing a little bit more this time, but still the same core things. Team fight disruption. We got the Aphelios with a lot of widespread attack damage. We
Yep,
had Tarek for extended team fights just in case. It was pretty much all downhill after that. I mean, we had the Mundo to survive into the Mordekaiser. He
yep,
couldn't ult him. It was all a little bit of counter picks, a lot of team play.
yep. So I think what's it called? I mean, we talked. I talked a little bit about your pathing. I talked a little bit about like the build that you were going for here. Usually with the Frostfire. I thought the Guardian's Angel second as well, right?
Yep.
But I think really just I think I want to ask like how is playing into like mostly like a melee comp really change up your playstyle, because obviously like going into the last series with like the Callista and kind of the range that you had, right, there's different targeting options that you have, but into this one, right, with the set, the Mordekaiser, the Kane, right, is there anything that changes when you know you're facing melee heavy as Jarvan 4?
Yeah, so as J4, honestly, especially with my Affilio sitting in the back line, my entire job is setting up the wall so they can shoot them while being safe all the time. So
Yep.
a lot of times I'll set up those walls in those little niche areas so that way that he can shoot over them, but if they're still team fighting, they're just going to die.
Hmm.
Knockups to prevent them from walking straight onto my ADC so that he can really pour out the damage.
And I didn't see that last game that you played, but I saw that you took phase rest this game. Also, is that usually what you want to go for on Jarvan 4 when you're
One
playing into this comp?
in our team comp, I think it does really well, especially when I'm going in deep. A lot of the times, that's what stops me from dying
Hmm.
because I can go in, pop W, and then sprint the heck out of there. So I got my CC disruption, and then I'm free to go back in and with my team when they're there.
Yep. So no, honestly, great game. I mean, like you said, kind of just got out of hand at one point to where you were taking objectives, taking bounties, taking kills, and I mean, the team fighting as normal, right? Fighting together. It's a big point of like the wins that we have. So honestly, just a fun game to watch
Thank
again.
you.
So
Thank you.
thank you for being here. Looks like we're gonna be rolling into our second game really fast here. Um, we're going to take a really quick break here as the teams talk about team comp, and we'll be back in a minute or two to for game 2. I mean, it makes me wonder what their idea is, right? Because I don't think Valpo saw that game and went, "Man, I need this Valkaz on my team. I really need to take that pick," right? So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it really feels like that there's like other stronger things that they could have banned. I think Jukimbo might have played it a few times, but
mhm,
there's a lot stronger picks for him that you could have weeded out there.
exactly. And I think also now they're setting up. I mean, they went with the Vel'Koz ban instead of the Talia, and they first picked Sejuani, so they gave MS Yukimbo his Talia again. I mean, there's not much I need to say anymore. This is obviously his preferred pick. This is his best champion, in my opinion.
And I
Um,
mean, when was the last time we saw him lose on this pick? I mean,
exactly.
it's starting to become, kind of a trend. Like
Yeah,
MF Jacimbo Talia equals Valpo win. So I mean, we'll see if
exactly.
Franklin can pick anything to counter that and break the trend. But man, it is such a powerful pick in his hands.
And I mean, like, even talking about it on stream, honestly, like, I don't even feel like I'm revealing some secret. It's like it's one of his top played on OP. It's his most wins on like NECC. It's the most wins that he has in GLEC as well. Um, I don't see why people keep giving him Talia. All I'm gonna say is there's a reason Valpo opts to first pick Talia every chance that they can. If you give them first pick Talia, they will first pick Talia. Um, but I mean, obviously, not to reveal much anymore. Valpo going with the center pick as well. Kind of going back into their comfort zone for game two. The Aphelios Taric did work first game, but looks like they're just trying to close it out now. Not really much to throw up in the air. Franklin coming in with a Darius pick. That Darius pick is really strong in this top lane, especially in this patch right now. He's a bruiser. He can run you down, especially because we'll probably see the ghost come out from Darius, right? The pull, the slow that he has, the bleed, and the execute that comes from it. Just overall, really, really strong character. But I mean, speaking of strong characters, there goes the Senate Tom Kench bot lane. Um,
Yep. And that combo has been another thing for Valpo too. I mean, I want to say they're undefeated on that bot lane as well.
they are. Yep.
So these picks are kind of like, game one we experimented a little bit, but game two, we're going back to our strongest picks and we just want to close this out.
Yep. It's like they're trying to end this series. The two series back to back may be a little bit tiring for them at this time, so they're trying to just close this game out now. Another Jinx pick from Franklin. I mean, we didn't really see much activity with the Jinx first game. A little bit hard because in those team fights, a lot of the early fights that they had, she just was not a part of them, so that scaling was really not present for them. But I mean, Valpo going with almost the same bands. The only difference banning is the Akali instead of the Silas. I'm guessing that they're trying to think that their mid laner is gonna go with a little bit more of like a damage uh attempt, especially with the set because the set can do damage. Don't get me wrong, right? But a lot of his like utility that he brings to the team is a lot better. And we'll see the Valpo pick of Trundle. I mean, as usual, obviously we subbed out our junglers, Nolan, or we subbed out a uh, Zaxter for Vector. So Vector always prefers to pick that Trundle, that Nunu, and Franklin picked up on it. They banned the Nunu, or excuse me, Franklin picked up on it, banning the Nunu, and we might have an Echo mid, which honestly I like. I like that pick because Valpo kind of hit it on the head then with banning that Akali because they are going for that burst heavy like assassin comp, and that's who Echo is. That 3-hit passive that he has is insane. And going against Senatom Kench, pretty smart pick taking the Zera. Um, Zera is a pretty hard counter to Senatom Kench because of how much poke that it gives you in that early game, and stopping that Tom Kench from farming is the big thing because less farm Tom Kench has, the less souls that Senna gets, and the less like scaling that they actually have to fight with.
Yep, and Valpo is going to finish out the draft here with Atrax. Oh, actually, a last
And
second
the
swap to
swap to Mordekaiser.
Mordekaiser. Okay. So if that was going to be the Atrax, I was going to say, would be a very straightforward Valpo draft.
Yep.
But the Mordekaiser, still not that surprising. Something
Hmm.
that's pretty strong in that top lane. So,
Yep. I do agree with that. Is that Mordekaiser is a good pick right now into this Darius. I feel like while Aatrox is the better champion overall, I do feel like going into this Darius, the hardest part about Aatrox fighting into Darius is that eventually that bleed is going to catch up to your healing. Especially in those early trades, you really can't out heal the bleed, and you'll still lose a lot of trades. So taking that Mordekaiser with that shield to block that bleed that Darius can apply is a good help to actually like winning early trades.
And then Mordekaiser's ability to, lock down one champion, that's going to be really helpful in team fights.
Yep.
Who do you think they're going to be looking to target on Franklin with that all?
If they're looking to target anyone, quite frankly, I feel like the hardest person to hit, right? Because obviously it's easy to get a kill with the ult, right? So you could target the Zero, you could target the Echo, that's whatever. Um, but if I'm going Mordekaiser into this game, I'm looking to literally either target the Sejuani or target that Darius. Because I feel like if you were able to take a 4v4 against any combination of Franklin's team, you would want to take it with either Jinx Echo Zero and then either Darius or Sejuani with that group. You do not want both Sejuani and Darius in that same fight. So taking that 4v4, you win that because then you have the Senna and you have the Senna Tom and you have the Trundle to help with that front line. You take away one of Franklin's frontliners as well. They don't have any more tanks. Their squishies become vulnerable. So I think knocking away, taking that Mordekaiser R into that Sejuani or into that Darius is the best way Valpo can win these team fights.
And on the Valpo side, it seems like they're kind of a lot more tanky with the Tom Kench, the Trundle, the Mordekaiser. These are all high health champions. So
Yep.
does it seem like it's kind of really on Jakimbo to do that damage this game almost more than other games?
It is. It's just you have to remember too. You give that Trundle early game, his bonks are insane. He's an auto attack character. That's what everybody jokes about. But his Q, like with the slow and the empowered attack, his stat stealing makes him kind of a tank. And while I do agree with you that Talia will be a majority of the damage dealing this game, I don't think we can sleep on that Senna. We've seen before he loves to just sit in the back and auto. It's the easiest thing to do with Senna, just getting those kills. So I feel like there will be a little bit of a load taken off Talia, but I do agree with you, especially in this early game. Those team fights are really going to rely on that Talia being able to throw those abilities out there. Franklin does have a lot more of a like ranging damage comp, I would say. uh, they can split it out pretty evenly. Obviously, we know that Jinx and Echo can dish the damage, but Zera's poke, especially with Leandries, and Darius with Ghost, can really just run you down.
Fear the shadows.
It's dangerous a lot of the time. And with the setup that Sejuani can give with the front line, Franklin's draft is not half bad. Like obviously the fun pick that they have is the Echo here, that trying to get a little bit of like assassin damage on that Talia, but really Franklin's damage is a lot more spread out, especially in that early to mid game. I feel like that's where they're going to thrive. But again, Valpo loves the draft scaling comps. I mean, I don't think we've seen a game where Valpo is trying to end it before 20. So
And looking at that Echo, that's a pick that I feel like I haven't seen a lot this season. It's kind of not one of those traditional mid laners. So talk to me a little bit about his kit and what he brings to this Franklin comp.
so with Echo's comp that he has, obviously his biggest thing in team fights is that engage that he has. His Q slow that he can proc, his W stun and shield that he can proc as well, and his E just to dash in. Usually you want to build Hextech Rocket Belt on Echo, which gives him another dash. But being able to jump in really quick, being able to get your 3-hit passive off, which does a ton of AP damage, and then R to get right back out of situations gives Franklin that engage that they need to send their tanks in there. Because without that, I feel like their tanks are going to get CC stunned. But Echo's kit, while it may be weaker than Talia in this laning phase, we'll have to see how Echo plays around his Q. Um, it may be a little bit weaker, but in team fights, I feel like it does serve a purpose for Franklin College. The biggest issue is just like Echo has the tools. You just have to see how they use them, because he can fit in a little bit differently. But we're gonna go to a spectator delay right now. We're gonna take a quick break for 2 minutes, and we'll be back before this game starts. And welcome back, everyone. Getting to game 2 of the series between Franklin College and Valpo Esports. As we load in here, we're going to see a couple of summoners, a couple of runes. Really not seeing any like opening for a kind of rune switch up here. Obviously, we're going to see the Unsealed Spellbook coming out mid lane. Might see a couple of ignites, but really shouldn't be too much. Obviously, probably going to start with that exhaust going into that mid lane. And I mean, we'll see. We're up Valpo 1-0, so this is our last game if they do win.
Oh.
No stress, yeah. Having a couple of technical issues here. Sorry about that.
I'm just getting the score updated here.
Of course.
Game 2 of the series,
Perfect.
and we're waiting to hop into the game.
And there we go. So it looks like obviously we're seeing that Darius Ghost that we were expecting with the Conqueror. TP coming from the Echo, Ignite coming from the Zera. Ignite on the Tom Kench as well. Exhaust on MFG Kimbo with the Unsealed Spellbook. Honestly, I've talked enough about it. Like, we know what's coming every game. We know with the characters that they pick, they like to go with the comfortable runes and things like that. A lot of speed. A lot of speed coming from Ordinal with the fleet footwork choice. So we'll just have to see.
I mean, a lot of these games, tend to rely on Jakimbo in the mid lane. But, if there's another lane that can pop off and hard carry, it feels like it's that top lane. So
Yep.
talk to me a little bit about this Mordekaiser Darius matchup and, what's going to decide who's winning that.
So with the Mordekaiser Darius matchup, it's going to be pretty even early game. I feel like Mordekaiser has a better level 2 spike with his Q and his E, but Darius has a better level 3 spike, if that makes sense. Because Darius, obviously, you're probably going to start with Q, which is his spinning attack. Then you're probably going to go into his W, which is his, it's his empowered auto attack, which allows him to cleave and add bleed. And then he's going to go into his pull. So obviously Mordekaiser is going to hit the engage faster with his pull and his slam down earlier on level 2. But Darius, once he hits that level 3, he gets his full bleed combo going up, and that's going to be hard for Mordekaiser to jump into. So I think that going into this fight early especially, it's really going to matter, okay, who hits level 3 first. Because if Mordekaiser can hit level 3 before Darius can hit level 3, he's going to be able to push Darius off the XP. And as we're seeing right now in the bot lane as well, that Zera choice is just really nice into the Son of Tom Kench. Considering that the farming is just easier. It looks like we have a level 2 and he decided to opt for the pulse at level 2 as well. Just getting a little bit of bleed. Guess he's not going for the Q as well. He empowered his auto just so he can get that max bleed going on. And a little bit of chip, just pushing in this wave, getting a couple of shots in.
And looking over at the bot side, I'm really interested, picking the Jinx again, but a whole different comp around it to try and make it work.
Yep.
What can they do? I know they got, a little bit of early kills last game, but weren't able to quite convert.
It's like we have an engage here in mid lane, but got the flash from the Echo over the pillar. It's going to get him out safe, but early flash in mid lane, it's what we see from Vector every game. He goes to pressure that mid lane. But if we're talking about how they can kind of center around this Jinx a little bit better, I would say that with the Zera combination, we have a little bit of an engage here top lane, just a little bit of tickling. I think the way that they can play around this Jinx a little bit better is you saw with the Vel'Koz and Jinx early game, they did get those early kills, especially with the gank, but they would just commit too far. They allowed Zaxter to come down, get a couple of kills, and with the poke and range that they have, they need to utilize it a little bit more. I feel like it is much easier with Zera because you do have those turrets that you can spawn, those little plants, right? And those are based off of her abilities. When she uses an ability over one of those plants, they spawn a turret, and that helps zone even more. But, you'll see right now, it looks like Nolan Vector is pathing bot lane, and they're gonna use it in the engage, then knock up on the Zera. The flash coming out from her too, trying to stop it. The pillar is going to stop her from moving. The ignite and the exhaust coming down, and the heal coming in. The flash from Senna, it's gonna get her out, but the damage from tower is huge. She's gonna have to back up here. But it looks like Sejuani is going to trade that, trying to attack this top lane. As we know, Dreadful's very pushed up right now. The knock up and the stun here. Looking for a late W, but it looks like it's not going to do much as bleed stacks will kill him here. And there it is. I'm telling you, that bleed with that Darius is so strong. Right now, without the max levels that Mordekaiser has on his W, without any upgrades into his W, it's going to be really hard to try and actually outshield that bleed, especially that max level bleed that Darius has early game. But I mean, even then, Franklin College in the bot lane made an improvement a little bit at least with Jinx backing up further, but you saw just Zera got caught out. I mean, you have to be able to use your range to get vision, and once you get vision, be able to back up faster. But I think that's the way they beat this comp.
Yep. I mean, I think it's tough because, you want to, try and get that Jinx ahead, try and play aggressive and get those early kills. But sometimes you end up going a little too far and end up on the wrong side of the trades.
Exactly.
But, with the gank coming in top, it's a still 1-1 game, pretty even. There's that slight gold lead for Valpo, and you can see, it's kind of coming from that mid lane and that bot side where they're both out CSing in those lanes.
Yep. And I think that if we're thinking trades here, right, if we're talking kills here, I think while the first blood, so obviously the gold was much better going to the bot side, right? I do think that giving that kill to Senna is a little bit less, or giving that kill really to anyone on that bot side is a little bit less useful than giving that kill to Darius on that top side. I feel like Darius has a little bit more carry potential than this bot lane has on Valpo's side. So the 1-for-1 trade, although the gold may be in Valpo's favor, I feel like does scale out a little bit better for Franklin College. And we're going to see also that Darius hitting 6 in that top lane. A little bit of an engage here in the root, and the Talia are coming down as well, stopping that Zera from moving in. It's a 4v2, trying to set up for that dragon. It worked out well. A flash coming in from Dreadful, a little bit late, but just the Talia are trying to secure that mid pressure. Oh, Echo's on tower. He may get a play or two. I think it is a worth trade if they're going to set for drag here. It looks like Talia's going to try and force Echo back into the jungle where Sejuani is invading as well. And Valpo's not going to go for dragon here either. Looks like they're going to get dragged out a little bit. With top prio, they're kind of comfortable sitting in this lane here. And a huge stun coming from the Echo. You saw that W is just adding so much to him. And the flash over the wall, but the flash also from Sejuani. And Mordekaiser is now back attacking. It looks like he may be able to get out of this. The stun and the blast cone going to get him out. And the kill going to Mordekaiser. A good turn and a good follow-up. MF Jakimbo kind of face-tanking this Echo, but this Echo remixing on top of him. The exhaust coming in, but the bleed stacks will kill MF Jakimbo, and the fight will come out with Franklin College on top, still in their jungle. Everybody forcing to recall, having to take a little bit of a reset here.
Very good by Vector there, being able to get out very low and able to flash out. Could have been a lot worse fight for Valpo.
Yeah.
Also earlier in the game on the bot side, when Ordinal was very low, he was able to flash out. So I think they've done really well, being able to survive and end up on the right side of these fights.
And you'll see too, a lot of the survivability is also accounted to where his teammates are on this map. As you saw, like Sejuani was able to follow up with a flash as well right after it, going to secure that kill, but because Mordekaiser was there as well, that stalled just long enough for him to be able to blast cone out. So I feel like without Mordekaiser's follow-up there, that may just be another secured kill.
So a little bit of lull in the action here. Talking again about, bot side, as we see a root coming in there, not too much after it. But, Senatom Kench is one of the interesting ones and that the Tom Kench is the one getting the CS
Yep.
rather than your ADC here. So what's the reasoning behind taking the lane that way?
So the idea is it's that with Senna passive, the idea is that when you kill minions or when your teammates kill minions, they have a chance. And it looks like we have a little bit of an engage here to interrupt me in this top side. And while the elite stacks are like maxed out on Mordekaiser, he's gonna win that trade with that W. And you see that Mordekaiser Dreadful opted to pick the Bramble Vest first, so he's opting towards just trying to like win more trades against that Darius, trying to make it hurt a little bit more whenever Darius hits him. But I think we have a pillar here coming in this bot lane. A little bit of a slow, but it won't do much. They're gonna crash this wave in with the engage from Steamroller, the flash out, but there's another kill on that Zera. Just not having a good day today, quite frankly. But really, with the Tom Kench farming, the idea is it's that Senna can pick up her passive souls, and her souls give her like a fair myriad of stat buffs, but the majority one is range. Her sheer range on all her abilities becomes a lot longer, and that's huge for being able to stay behind people and stay and help the team out a little bit. So with Tom Kench, you can give Tom Kench the gold, and Senna can still scale hard enough without needing to get those minions. So really, it's just like, it's not so much that she wouldn't benefit from having minions. Ooh, and there's a huge fight on that top side. As we saw, I mean, the max stats of bleed on that Darius. If everybody didn't know, Darius's R is like a slam down, and it does more damage based on how many bleed stacks there are. So when you have that massive icon over your head, his ult can do a ton of damage. So really, those fights where it seems like you're winning, just one R press and it's over. Looks like we have a Rift Herald mid here, trying to take a little bit of priority. And they're going to get that first turret. A little bit of engage here, Vector going and slapping. Chilling Smite coming out as well. He's just going to slap down a little bit.
And honestly, this seems like a much better start, for Franklin, getting the Rift, getting the first turret down, and now you have that Darius online, 3-0 in the top lane. Are you scared at all for Valpo in this game going forward?
I think that Darius is a little bit of a problem, especially going 3-0. The issue is that he doesn't have teleport. So I don't think he's much of an issue until this late game. Good flash from Dreadful here to get out of that gank. But I don't think he's much of an issue until this late game, because until he stops farming in that top lane, until he starts roaming, without teleport, he's not much of an option for these objective fights. So these kills, while he is a hyper carry, is giving Valpo enough time to come back and actually feed more of the kills to this Senna, to this Talia. Have another opposite gank coming in from Vector in this top lane. The pillar knocking back a little bit, but not going to do much. Again, attacking that, both summons were out. Looks like Echo is recalling right here and just got caught out a little bit unlucky here. Seeing that Darius running in also is going to make them back up a little bit. The slow coming in, and it looks like they're going to engage again Dreadful with a huge W to turn it a little bit. Vector chasing down and getting the kill on the Echo. Bot lane as well, Talia getting the kill on the Jinx. The Ghost popping out from this, from Darius. The flash as well, the flash Q missing. But it looks like they're just going to run under and take this tower before a slap. Just a little bit of team play going on. Trying to get those 2 kills. That shutdown is huge on that Darius. Going to Mordekaiser there, going to even out that gold lead a little bit for him.
It's what we've seen time and time again today. Valpo giving up some of those early kills, but, it doesn't really matter in that, early mid game, they just come alive with those kills and, instantly swing it back in their favor.
Exactly. And I think the comps that they pick really reflect that as well. Because they pick these comps that are very high scaling. I mean, they're used to getting killed in the early game. They're used to like dying, getting those early kills. But because of the champions that they opt to select, the champions that they feel comfortable with, they just are a lot like better going into this late game. So I think it's always fun to watch. I mean, you never know what's going on, especially because you can see too. I think Franklin College does figure out what's working against them. It's just with how hard it is to scale against these guys, their plan kind of falls apart. And I think that we're gonna see that a little bit soon too here. Although while it is a 4 kill gap right now in the game, the gold lead really, which matters, is only like 1.5, 1.2. So I don't think it's anywhere near a gold lead to say that Valpo is winning this game at the moment, especially with the turrets that they've taken out too. Just Franklin College has a better objective run right now under their belt, except for the dragon. And we're gonna see right here, 40 seconds on the next drag. It is Cloud Soul again, or not Cloud Soul. It is Cloud Drake again. So we will see whoever takes priority here may just take it uncontested. I don't see a fight popping off here, really, because Cloud Drake is not exactly the one that you want to like risk more objectives over or towers over, especially when you have a lead like Franklin College does.
I think it's important for Franklin to play together. We talked before, about the support. Getting caught out, already given up 3 kills. So it's really important for them to be on the same page and kind of cover up for each other when somebody's starting to get low. To have the rest of the team there to support to make sure they're winning those C-plays.
It looks like big rip from the center here. Just have to be careful with that Echo R. Remember, he's still safe as long as that R is up. Just kind of pressuring, throwing a couple abilities. The pillar that looks like they're gonna flash. Zera's gonna flash over the wall, get out of there pretty quickly. And like I said, right now their kills are all on that Darius. That Darius is top lane. That Darius cannot join the fight right now. So they're going to be able to pressure this. They're going to be able to pressure this drag enough that I think it's just going to be a free take for them. As you can see, Steamroller just playing the Tom Kench very aggressively, sitting out there pressuring. Being a big body, doing what he does best, which is sit there and just be a menace.
Yep. Franklin trying to look for a little bit of contest, but just not enough people there. Not enough HP. And that gives Valpo their second Drake of the game, which, is going to start to put pressure on Franklin to, fight for this next dragon.
I do think that you can kind of tell Franklin does have an idea of what they want to do, though. They're never taking any, like, breaks when it comes to this. For example, like, we were taking the Drake right there. We have the Mordekaiser R on the Echo here, and the recall from the Echo, the execute also proccing is going to save his life there. But as you can see, like they give up Drake, they're immediately gonna path topside, right? They're always looking for something. It's just right now the movement that Valpo Esports has around this map is a lot more useful than Franklin. I mean, now that they have that Cloud Drake too, their move speed is up a little bit. So I mean, we rag on it all the time on how bad it is, how good it is. Right, but I do think it is actually helping with this right now, because the whole idea is you need to get there before Darius gets there, and that's pretty much how they're gonna win a lot of these fights. I mean, honestly, they're just kind of allowing Talia to farm in that bot lane. Got a couple of solo kills there, so it's obvious that they can't contest it. Getting that tower as well, giving them that gold lead. Just kind of dangerous. I don't feel like this is the one game where I actually feel like he hasn't gotten like one massive fight where he's killing everybody and boom, he's online. But he's taking the more passive route. He's taking a more like, all right, I'm gonna farm up a little bit. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna let my team handle it. But still, even then, notice how he is still pathing that bot side. I mean, he's still gonna hover it because for those objectives, he needs to be in the team fight. If Mordekaiser is gonna contest Darius, if it's gonna be a 4v4, they need Talia there.
And the gold lead's, slowly creeped up, almost 3K now, with the turret going down, with Jakimbo farming more in the bot lane. Valpo's just kind of slowly building this lead, waiting for that next fight to happen.
Exactly. Oh no, looks like we're setting up a little bit. I mean, there isn't really a fastest objective here. If I'm Valpo, what I'm looking for is I'm trying to pressure these waves now. This is a good opportunity to get those waves pushed in, pressure it up a little bit so that when drag does eventually pop in 2 minutes, they're going to have the tower advantage, they're going to have the wave advantage that if, if Franklin College is going to fight them, they're going to have to be able to do it on Valpo's terms. It looks like we have a little bit of an engage here, just stopping them. You can see that Darius chunking with the max bleed as well on this Tom Kench, the flash away, the Echo securing that kill. Vector going and hitting in. Another flash away, but that may be a kill again. It looks like Mordekaiser is just a little bit too late to this fight, flashing in and R'ing the Echo, looking for a little bit of a cheeky kill here. They're following him around as Echo dashes over the wall and dances a little bit, just BMing him. An overall great fight from Franklin, kind of catching him out. Valpo looks really, really discombobulated in that fight. You're seeing people just being split up, the timing being a little bit off, not really collapsing, especially with Talia being in that bot lane. A lot of their damage was just not present in that fight. And with Darius in that fight, I mean, he's there now, so you can't really take that with a 4v3 or a 5v3. And it looks like they're going to look for a tower here, but not sure if they're going to get much other than that. They do have pressure now in a minute for drag. It looks like they are pinging to go try and set up for a little bit of drag. Zero getting a recall, just looking to get a little bit of their spent gold. Same with Jinx.
And this is a very, very close game now. After that fight, we see the kills 6-7. The gold's still leaning in Valpo's favor, but I mean, this next fight is really anybody's game, and I feel like it's going to be a huge swing in the game here, how this next team fight goes down.
And I think that was smart, along with on Franklin College's part, on choosing to fight in that, because not only did they have their Darius and their other team there, but they saw on that vision that Talia was bot side. Without Talia teleport as well, without her spellbook changing yet, she still has to walk up, and that's not enough time before their team dies. But it looks like we're going to have another engage here, this time with the whole team there. Pillar coming in, it looks like they're going to get the stun and knock up on the Sejuani, doing a ton of damage there. Emma Chikimbo back in the fight as well. Darius being forced to run out a little bit. The pull in from the Mordekaiser, great pull. And Emma Chikimbo securing another kill with his team. Mordekaiser going to chase down the Zera a little bit. Not really going to look for much outside of just keeping them out of this drag fight as they start, but Dreadful's going to try and secure this. Full W still up, being able to shield it a little bit. And there's the R on the Zera. We're going to see that if he can get that, he misses the Q. It looks like he's just trying to pressure him into the rest of their team right there. Really just a great fight, as we said. Right as I compliment Franklin College for going into a fight that they know that they can win. They elect to engage in a fight that they probably won't. And now that it was a 5v4 with Jinx still coming up to the fight, really just not sure.
And I mean, there it was. We talk about it every game. The Jokimbo double kill, it feels inevitable, and it's a great sign for Valpo to see him coming online in that fight.
Yep. And there's another kill in the Ordinal. Just kind of, I don't know. These past two games, it feels like Jinx has just not really been present with the team. I mean, Jinx is a late game farmer, as always, but you're really just not seeing her get to that late game because she refuses to fight with that team. So,
and I mean, now with 4 kills on the Darius, more gold on the Darius for Franklin, he's going to be much more important to those team fights than Jinx is here.
And I think that the Darius, obviously, it's pretty normal to go with the Black Cleaver second. But that Black Cleaver, that armor penetration from its passive that it gives, is huge going into this Valpo team comp. With the Mordekaiser, with the Trundle, with the Tom Kench, you need that armor pen and that move speed that gives Darius to really hang in there with the tanks and become the front line that they need outside of this Sejuani. Obviously, with the Trinity Force, he's opting for more of a bruiser build, which is normal for Darius. Darius does a ton of damage. So we'll just have to see if he can really stick together with this cleave that he gets from his second item. A little bit of a recall going on. Pinging for assistance. They're gonna try to pick Vector out here, but looks like bot lane may try to collapse a little bit on this. Senna are keeping him alive for a little bit until Tom Kench can ult him, pulling him out. And there goes the ghost from Darius. Overall, great trade for them as there was no flash on Vector's side, but the R from Tom Kench. And that R is going to be back up before that ghost on Darius. So,
I mean, really well done by them. As we see a little bit of engage on the top side, but not
yep.
much else there. Really great by Vector to get out again. He's been really slippery today, just not able to lock him down. And that's why Valpo loves the Tom Kench, is, that safety of that R, that ability to disengage and, keep your teammates alive.
I mean, that R usage, that kind of skill differentiation that you have, really is something that Steamroller is very strong with. He's very good at choosing, this is my offensive R, this is my defensive R. He seems to have eyes in the back of his head. He's watching everywhere because he's able to pick out who he wants to R, he's able to be around the map. And I think really that's one of his strongest suits. And there's a quick Baron Nashor. Really, honestly, no contest that Franklin could have had there. Just too much of a gold lead, too much of a diff right now that giving that kill, if they had tried to contest that, if they had tried to fight it with tier 2 turret being down in bot side, that may have just resulted in an inhibitor or just an inner turret loss. So they're just gonna cut their losses. Take a nice little reset here for Valpo as they come back into the lane with their items.
Yep. Franklin, grabbed that bot turret, but it's nowhere near what you get out of Baron. This is so much pressure and power here for
Exactly.
Valpo.
Yep. And it looks like they're just gonna catch wave in topside as well. I mean, all the builds that you're seeing in this game are somewhat normal. A little bit of an engage here coming from this bot lane on the Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser ulting the Darius, trying to get that damage, stealing the stats after the kill, and looks like he's going to try and turn this into 2 kills. His W is still a max bar, so he still has max shield from it. And there's the Talia R to cut off the Sejuani, the flash out, but it's too much. Talia's burn with the Leandres is just going to get the kill. Another kill going to Mordekaiser there on the Zera, just getting pulled away. Chikimbo throwing a couple of abilities, trying to catch it over the wall, even though didn't have any vision. And that whole fight, I mean, Trundle wasn't there. They didn't have like their front line, and there's a flash and a kill on Talia. That's a big shutdown. 1,000 gold going to that Echo, going to a hyper carry character. Echo can start chunking, and you saw that dash plus the Q. So a little bit about Echo. His basic attacks and his abilities proc his 3-hit passive, and his 3-hit passive does AP damage. So the idea is it's that you want to be able to Q, jump in, E, and then auto attack, and then the Q comes back, and that's more than enough to proc it. Huge damage. So when you have somebody at half health like MF Chikimbo, it's really tough. Looking like tried to go for a steal there with the Echo, but their Trundle's going to secure it. We have a little bit of an engage here coming in the jungle. Big pull from the Mordekaiser, but he's rooted in as well. Still maxed on his W, so he can get a little bit of a shield. Kill on the Echo getting picked, but Tom Kench going down to Darius. And Darius getting another kill on the Senna, but overall going to be a winning trade for Valpo Esports. I mean, a lot of damage there thrown out, but the pillar here is going to end that jinx. They're going to look to push this wave in, and that may be game with this Baron buff. Full health, both Mordekaiser and full health Trundle taking the inner turrets. That may be game if they can just clear these waves fast enough with the supers.
It was a decent fight from Franklin, but, outside of that Darius, there's just not enough damage to chunk down this Trundle, chunk down that Mordekaiser, and, Valpo comes out on top here, and it's going to be game, set, match, point. And this was,
a little bit of a flash in, but Dreadful gets the R, and that's going to be game. That is going to be another 2-0 win for Valpo in today's series against Franklin College. I mean, big pointers of that game was although that Darius was a little bit of an issue starting off, the biggest thing was that, I mean, when you don't have teleport, it's going to be really, really hard to join those team fights. And if you're fed like that and the rest of your team isn't, your team fights are going to be based on that damage. So when he's not there, you saw that they lost it. The wins that they did, the fights that they did take, I feel like they had a little bit more map control to where they could see, okay, this person's over here. Let's take this fight here, right? You saw that the Talio was in bot lane. They went and took that 5v3 and won that, right? So it's fights like that that gave Franklin College that hope. But overall, it's just once Valpo Esports started to group again, started to get back together, they focused their efforts on that Darius, on that Zira, picked a little bit, and then got that
Yep,
game win.
really great win by Valpo. I mean, I think it's just classic Valpo standard, which you see. They know how to survive and get through that early game to be able to come online in the late game and just overpower Franklin here.
That is one of the biggest threats that Valpo shows to other team comps is it's that if you just don't break their mental by like 15 minutes, they're gonna be in the game, like they're gonna be back. So it's always fun to watch just how kind of the dynamic changes a little bit from game to game. Obviously, most damage going to Mordekaiser. That's really not a surprise. I
Yep.
mean, the Talia with the second damage is also the same, but I mean, Mordekaiser does so much damage, not only with the R's and the powered Qs when you only hit one target, but just his passive three hit that spawns the area of death around him almost. That does so much damage and so much chip, especially in team fights. That becomes really, really big of an issue.
Yep, we talked about it before game. That mid lane, that top lane, those are Valpo's two carries, and we see it on the scoreboard. Dreadful, the most damage in the game on the Mordekaiser, and
Yep,
Jakimbo, just being Jakimbo. Not much
exactly.
else to say
Yeah.
there.
No, but I really want to drag attention really quick also to the bot lane to the Senna and Tom Kench. Obviously we're used to them having good games, right? But this was almost an immaculate game coming from them with the 5-1 and 10 and 1-2 and 9. You really saw just like the strength of that because I feel like especially after that first game, Ordinal started to find his footing. He started to find his pressuring where he should space out, and that got a little bit more comfortable as he came into this. And then Steamroller, obviously, very comfortable in the Tom Kench, knowing where he has to be. So that combo kind of just dominated this game, and I feel like that gave enough pressure for really, without that Darius, for them to just bully up on Franklin College on those early objectives.
I'm sure
So.
Ordinal is looking at it right now saying, shoot, I wish I could have that one death back. Wish
Yeah,
I could have that
exactly.
perfect game. So
You can already hear him like talking about the perfect KDA, so it's a great time. But no, I wanna thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank everybody for watching the stream. A couple of great games today. Four games in total. Long day for Valpo Esports, but coming out 4-0. Honestly, like thank you everyone for the viewership. Thank you for the support, and we hope to see you next time. Go Valpo.